Hi, my name is Robin Wong, and I want to talk about the 5 possible reasons why the images you're getting from your Olympus 100-400 are not sharp. Let's do this!
I love you.
This is a follow-up to a video I've done very recently. I retested the Olympus 100-400 lens in good lighting conditions. In that video, I found out that this lens can deliver very sharp images. I have more than 50 sample images to prove that. However, in the comments, some disagreed with me. They have owned the 100-400 lens and they claim they get poor results from this lens. I'm not here to disagree with anyone. You're entitled to your own opinion, but some of them claim that the difference between this 100-400 lens and a Pro lens, for example, the Olympus 300 Pro or the 40-150 Pro, is too great. Now, of course, the Olympus Pro lenses will always be superior. There's a reason why Olympus put the label Pro in these lenses. Optically, they are designed to be much better, so they deliver sharper results. But I don't think that this Olympus 100-400 is a poor lens. I have already proven that it can deliver really good images. And I want to explore in this video why or what went wrong when these people use 100-400 lens. There are some things that you have to pay attention to: camera settings, lens settings, and maybe some shooting technique. Number 1, please make sure that you have the latest firmware updated in your camera. This is extremely important because the Olympus 100-400 lens was launched late last year. This simply means all existing Olympus cameras were released before that, before this lens even existed. If you don't have the latest firmware, the camera just cannot communicate with the lens effectively. The latest firmware ensures that full compatibility between the autofocus of the lens and the image stabilization. This has happened before. During the launch of the Olympus 300 f4 Pro many years ago, I brought a group of people to the zoo and the bird park. They brought along their own EM1 and EM5 Mark II. As I tested the lens, they found a lot of issues. Autofocus was wonky, images were soft, the image stabilization doesn't work. Why? Because they didn't listen to me. I asked them to update the camera firmware before we go to the park. They didn't do that. And they say, oh, this lens produces soft images. What happened? Oh, the autofocus is so bad. I don't get sharp images. I don't get the images that you get when you put the photos in your blog. You are lying. My goodness. Please update your firmware. Thank you. Number 2, image stabilization settings. Now do pay attention, a lot of things can go wrong here. Olympus included image stabilization in this lens because this is an extremely long lens. As you zoom all the way to 400, the glass element is just situated too far from the camera itself. So no matter how powerful the 5-axis image stabilization is in the camera body, it cannot help to stabilize effectively the lens element that's away from the body as it shakes. That's why Olympus included image stabilization in the lens itself to effectively stabilize the lens that's too far from the camera. This is non-arguable. The lens IS is more effective than the body IS for longer lenses. It is a fact. Now, in terms of settings, a lot of things can go wrong. If you are using EM1 Mark II, EM1 Mark III, EM1X, and EM5 Mark III, your camera will further help to stabilize your shot by using the body's IS in the rolling position. The lens IS will stabilize the pitch and yaw, while the body IS will help only in one of the axes rolling. All this combined will give you a 3-axis image stabilization, which will be really superior to help you stabilize your shots. You don't have to do anything. As long as your firmware is updated, then the IS will work optimally to stabilize your shots. All you have to do is set the image stabilization setting on the camera to SIS Auto and make sure that your lens IS is turned on. Then everything should work just fine. If you use other camera bodies, say the EM10 series or the EPL series or the older EM5 or EM1 cameras from Olympus, then you must make sure that inside the menu of the camera, you go to Lens IS Priority. Do not set it to Body IS Priority. Body Image Stabilization Priority is the default setting. You have to change that to Lens IS Priority so that to tell the camera that you will only use the Lens IS, not the Body IS. These other cameras will not have the rolling stabilization effect. You will only get two axes, which is pitch and yaw from the lens, and trust me, it is already very, very good in stabilizing your shot. Just make sure that it is Lens IS Priority and your Lens IS is turned on. Now, a lot of people didn't know that. They didn't set it to Lens IS Priority as they use, say, the older EM1 or the EM5 Mark II with the 100-400 lens, and they get poor results because the poor 5-axis IS on the camera is trying so hard to stabilize this long lens. It just cannot work effectively. It cannot fight with the IS on the lens. The IS on the lens is still better in stabilizing shots that's far, far away. Reason number 3, not knowing how to deal with telephoto lenses. A telephoto lens, especially a lens this long, it goes to 800mm equivalent at the maximum reach. That is insane. We don't deal with such a long focal length every day. In fact, shooting with the Olympus 100-150 Pro is already a challenge when we zoom all the way to 150mm, and this is more than twice as long as that. So it does pose its own challenges. I've made a video to talk about how to deal with long lenses, how to optimize your telephoto lens shooting. I'll put the link to the video up here. Please check it out. There are certain tips that I've shared in that video which are very important. For example, proper hand-holding technique, watch your shutter speed, and of course, using anti-shock settings. I'm not going to repeat them here. I've done that whole video, so please check that out. Number 4, shooting discipline. I can make an entire video talking about this. The first person to talk about this was Ming Thian, a fellow friend photographer from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. But I personally believe that what separates a good photographer from the rest is shooting discipline. It simply means you're doing everything you can, everything within your power when you are shooting on the field to get the best possible results. I've noticed and observed so many photographers being so lazy. All they do is just slap on the lens of the camera, half press the shutter button, click, and they look at the results. Oh, it is soft. Then they blame the lens is bad. You know, they think that they are so good, they think that they're so skillful. I have 20 years of shooting birds experience. I've been to Africa and I've shot images. But when you really look at their images, do you blame the camera lenses or do you blame yourself for not making sure that you get the best possible result when you are shooting on the field? So I take a photograph of a bird. I took the risk. I lower down the shutter speed to 1/60th of a second. And there is a chance that the bird will move. Not because the lens is not sharp, not because the autofocus of the camera is bad, but the bird can move. Even a micro movement, the head just moved by 1/2 centimeters, your image is already soft. If it moves when you press the shutter button, you can't control that. So what do? You take another shot and again and again and again and try again and maybe make a little bit of adjustment there and here until you get the best shot. You will fail, you will get a lot of bad shots, not because the camera lens cannot handle it, not because, oh, the lens is so poor, it gives me soft images. The bird can move, the wind can blow the tree, the branch can move, a lot of things can happen, and your hands may not be as steady as you think. A lot of things can make or ruin your shot. So just make sure that you try the best. Do it again and again, give it all that you have to get the best result. And finally, number 5, using too high of an ISO number. This has to happen sometimes. We have no control of the situation. Birds or the wildlife animals, they do hide under shade. They don't present themselves out in the ideal lighting condition for you to shoot, where you can just use fast shutter speeds all the time. In these less than ideal situations, you do have to bump up the ISO numbers, and as you go higher and higher, you lose image quality. That is just a fact. Now, just because you use high ISO numbers and you get soft images, it doesn't mean that this lens is not sharp. If it is a sharp lens when it's in good light, if it can deliver sharp images, as I have proven with so many sample images, the lens will still be sharp even in low lighting conditions. Even in dim lighting, the lens doesn't magically change to other lenses. It will not disappear. The elements, the lens construction and the design, the optical composition is still the same. The images that it can produce is still exactly the same. The capabilities of the lens do not change as the lighting changes. It just doesn't work that way. The lens still stays the same. So of course, then you blame the camera. Oh, full frame camera will be better. Full frame camera will have better high ISO noise control, will have better sharpness and resolution. Stop it, all right? We understand that bigger sensor will be superior in certain situations. There is a reason why this is not a pro lens. There's a reason why this lens is made to be so much smaller so that it's easier for you to carry. Yes, it stops at f6.3, that is less than ideal, but honestly, if you're doing wildlife, if you are a photographer, you will do your best to shoot your shots in best possible lighting conditions. I know that's not always the case, but we can choose to shoot in good lighting conditions, which I've just proven to you in the video that I've made recently. The images just came out fantastic, and this lens can really deliver great results if you stay with lower range of the ISO numbers. That's all I have to share about the possible reasons why your images from this Olympus 100-400 came out soft. Please make sure that you have the latest firmware in your camera. Please ensure that you understand the image stabilization settings and set it to the right one. Please do ensure that you know how to deal with long lenses. And shooting discipline is very, very important. Do everything in your power to get the shot. And of course, don't use too high of an ISO number. If you found my sharing beneficial, please consider buying me a cup of coffee. Or you can contribute to my PayPal, links in the description below on how you can do that. Any small contribution goes a long way and will help me to continue making videos like this and publish them right here. Please give me a thumbs up, please subscribe, and I'll definitely see you again next one. Until then, stay safe and go out to take more photographs if you can. Bye-bye.